guys, Plasticon here. I know you guys probably tuned in last night. There was a podcast that I did, and one of the big things, I kind of got on a little bit of a tirade on the cast last night, and I admit it was probably a little harsh, but the issue I've been seeing throughout the many years now is the fact that toy pricing is absolutely outrageous now. Honestly, I'm going to be honest, and some people are probably going to hate on me for this, but Gen X, we're the reason. We are the reason everything is as high dollar as it is now. The reason I say this is because Lego sets are made for just adults. They're not even really made for kids anymore. Same thing with Hot Wheels. Hot Wheels have gotten to the point that it's like you got your normal little crazy Hot Wheel, but then anything that looks realistic is like $3 or $4, which is absolutely ridiculous just for a little die-cast car. I can even say the same thing about Matchbox. I can say the same thing about Transformers. I mean, I'm a huge fan of toys. I always have been, always grew up with this stuff, loved every bit of it, right? But there is a point that you get at that it's like, who's going to be buying this stuff in 20 years from now? Like, in 20 years, I'm going to be in, like 67. Like, who's going to buy these toys here in 20 years? Like, explain this to me. When there's no comic book, there's no TV show, there's no... I mean, nowadays, Hasbro only puts out like little, about 5 to 10 minute video things dealing with the newest line of toys they have out there right now, which is called Cyber World here in the US. And in Japan, I forget what it's called, but it's a very similar kind of quirky thing they're doing over there. And to me, those are toys. Those are real toys. Those are ones you can actually pick up and play with, and you don't have to worry about anything going crazy. The toys we have nowadays, the reason these aren't actual toys is because they are fragile now, because they're old. But if this toy here was still produced today, kids will still play with it. The problem is how much it costs. For Hasbro to produce this toy here, probably nowadays, would cost an insane amount of money because of the tooling and such. And the point I'm trying to come across here is there are a lot of companies out there right now that are not IP monkeys. I heard this on a thing recently, the term IP monkey. And when I use that term, I'm using it as in, these are people that literally think an IP is going to survive. Look at the way Star Wars has been going throughout the years. It has been on its ups, it has been on its downs. And now since Disney has really done the stuff they have done, they're really kind of killing that franchise. And when these franchises get killed off, much like Hasbro, it's going to get locked away in a vault, much like Mask had. And now Mask is just now coming out with loyal subject stuff. But yet they're going to show us cool prototypes and cool toys that have yet to even come out. Yet you're going to show us a Wave 2 when Wave 1 hasn't even came out, and then Wave 1.5, which is basically black and gold recolors of the same toy. I don't mind that they're doing that. The point I'm trying to come across is none of this is actually affordable to the average consumer. Most people don't sit around and have $300 to $400 to drop on one toy, especially for a child. Kids nowadays don't get the toys that we used to get. And those people are like, well, kids don't play with toys like they used to, and da 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 da. Well, there's a reason for that. It costs too much. The price is what's killing the market. Now here in the United States, it's even going to get worse because of the tariffs, Like, they've literally priced most of us out of the hobby at this point. Like, I haven't bought a recent Transformer in many years now. Mainly because after Combiner Wars, I saw the price hike consistently going up. And the quality going down. And with discoloring plastics, the quality control of the joints, the fact that, yeah, back when not Combiner Wars, but when War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron came out during the oil shortage, which I'm going to tell you right now, all this stuff is like exclusive BS is what it is. They create an artificial shortage. So that way you have no choice but to buy what is on the shelves. But what I can tell you is, I don't know. Look to people that are trying to create stuff that are independent. Look to the people that are actually doing stuff with 3D printing. Some of those people can actually create something a lot cheaper and better quality and actual some care behind it. Yeah, maybe shorter runs of stuff, but the fact is there's a lot of toys out there that are being produced that are actually better than the mainline stuff that's being made right now. One of the biggest things I got onto the little tirade during my podcast was about the Lego Death Star. This Lego Death Star is literally a shelf. Is what it is. It's a big hollow shelf in a circular thing. The bottom part of it kind of comes out a little bit, but that's it. As there's very few scenes that are actually in that Death Star that even make sense. And then on top of that, they want to charge $1,000 for it. You can buy 2 of the original Death Stars that come out. I'm not talking about the Death Star 2 that was just a shell. I'm talking about the one that was literally a globe that you can spin around that had all different floors on it. If you bought 2 of those, I guarantee you can build something better than what Lego produced now. And those roughly run anywhere between $300 to $500 a piece. If you bought 2 of them, it would be cheaper than buying that new Lego Death Star that's supposed to be so great. And the cool thing is, they're going to show you some false advertising of a TIE fighter sitting on its little tie rack with a few figures and a vehicle that's supposed to help do maintenance and stuff on it on the box, but it doesn't even come with it because it's a whole separate set that's exclusive that comes with it if you buy that offline. Misleading is not cool. I have never liked misleading. Now, one thing I have to say, when I was into Lego, I was into Lego back whenever they actually showed alternate builds on the back of the box, alternate builds on the back of some of the instruction manuals. And if you're old enough to remember, some of those instruction manuals actually showed you how to build some of the alternate mode stuff. They lost me after they quit doing the alternate mode type of things that you can build with the toys. Plus, the price is absolutely ridiculous. There are better companies out there. Yes, I'm going to plug Lumabricks. I don't actually own any Lumabricks, but all I've seen is nothing but good praises from that company. And they have lighted gimmicks. And it's cheaper than Lego. Yeah, the little figures might not look just like Lego, but I mean, Lego has the lockdown on that design, and that's the only reason. They literally could just sell the sets without figures, and I guarantee you they'd sell just as well. The point I'm trying to get across here is, don't waste your money, don't waste your time on stuff that's being produced that isn't good. Because the stuff that's being made now is literally just fan service to adults. It's not even for kids anymore. It's pretty bad whenever you can go down an aisle now and point out so many properties, but there's so many properties that have been completely forgotten. Like in my childhood, there are a whole lot of different toy lines, different cartoons, and different things that came out that have literally been forgotten. It's like they've just been locked away in a vault and just poof. Some of them are stuck in IP nightmares. I understand that. But there's a point where it's like, toys aren't toys anymore. They're nothing but museum pieces, action figures that have some posability. But if you do pose them too many times, the joints will fall apart. It's just really right now at a point that I'm just like over a lot of the modern toy industry. Like I said, you give it 20 years, there won't be toys being produced. The toy industry is on a huge decline. The reason I say this is if you look at a lot of the toys that were produced during the 50s and 60s, during the 1950s and 60s, for those in the future that are watching this, things like Dick Tracy didn't do well in the 1990s whenever they decided to redo it and bring it back out to a modern audience. The reason it didn't do well is because, well, most of that demographic was really, really old that actually remembered who Dick Tracy was. It's the same thing with Flash Gordon. Barely anybody is going to remember Buck Rogers in 20 years. Same thing with Kit from Knight Rider. Like a lot of us out there think, oh, well, these are going to be things that people are going to remember forever. With Transformers, do you think anybody's going to remember who Afterburner is? Do you think anybody's going to remember who Electro is? Anything who's going to remember who freaking Deathsaurus is? Or Starsaber? No, they're not going to remember those. You know why? They're only going to remember 5 to 6 names because it's the only thing that Hasbro can produce nowadays on a massive scale, but yet dance around all these other names. Yeah, some of them might be stuck in an IP naming frenzy, but the problem here is they're not even attempting to try to do anything with those. All the G2 laser rods have never gotten any kind of upgrade except for Electro during a BotCon exclusive, and that was the only one that ever came out. What's the excuse nowadays? Really, there isn't. And as for the Cyberjets and the Sky Scorchers, Cyberjets maybe got a little tiny trickle here and there. Sky Scorchers have been completely forgotten. Accelerators, completely forgotten. All the color changing gimmicks and stuff, completely forgotten, unless you're counting that new Hot Wheel Tracks. I'm like, that's cute, but it's like a $6 Hot Wheel just because it changes color. When I was a kid, that was like a $2 Hot Wheel. Yeah, I know, inflation, blah, 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 blah. But if you look at the quality of some of these cars, compare an older Hot Wheel to a newer one. Newer ones are so full of plastic, it's insane. The old ones were almost completely die-cast. When they say there's die-cast in the toys now, it's like barely anything at all. Yes, die-cast to me is probably becoming more of a lost art. And that's a sad thing to see. But in this day and age, do not support these companies that are going to be just consistently cranking out garbage to you. Like all this stuff here in the future will probably end up in a landfill. Let me tell you why. Because 20, 30 years from now, no one's going to know who half of these characters are. No one's going to care who half these characters are, except for the weird obscure kid that, dug through his parents' basement and found some DVDs and VHSs and started watching them and got into it on their own. The problem is that isn't happening nowadays. Everybody thinks we know everything, right? And that's not necessarily true. Everybody thinks you should know how to transform a G1 Optimus Prime. Well, you hand that to a 2 to 3 year old, they're going to figure it out. But if you don't show them how to do it, sometimes they might not be able to figure it out. But if they are, cool. There are some kids out there that are smart, but there are some kids out there that have no clue. And having this assumption that everybody knows everything. Everything's at everybody's fingertips because of the internet. With all the AI slop, you have to comb through that. Like even YouTube right now is feeding AI slop. It's feeding garbage on my feed consistently. I have to dig in order to find actually anything worth watching now because the algorithm's so messed up because they've allowed computers to take 100% control of everything. And with that being said, how do you think half this stuff gets designed nowadays? It gets designed on a computer CAD. It's not handcrafted anymore. Some people may say, oh, well, that's better for the industry. That's easier for people to make things, stuff like that. Yes, it is. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. What I have a problem with is whenever they create something and send it off to another factory for it to get built, and then what ends up happening is it's an absolute atrocious mess and does not function the way it should. I'm looking at you, HasLab, putting out subpar fan-funded items to people and then doing the same fix that fans had already fixed and then saying, oh, well, that's how we handle things. To me, that's atrocious. It's just a waste. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of resources. It's a waste of energy. And that, I think, is my biggest problem with most of this, is a lot of this becomes wasted energy after a while. Whenever you're trying your hardest to build something cool and something memorable for people, but then it gets completely forgotten in 50 plus years, what's the point? We should create things that are everlasting. We should create things that are easy. Not create stuff that's a complete nightmare for somebody to have to sift through. I'm going to come back to the Lego thing. When I was a kid, Lego would carry the same Lego set for up to 2 to 2.5 years. The same Lego set. That same Lego set fit in with the entire theme of stuff that they were changing. There's some things that would go away and some things wouldn't, but they would overlap. The industry doesn't do that anymore. They stopped doing that because, oh, well, it's not selling that well. It's this, that, and the other. Well, have you guys actually sat back and thought about why it's not selling that well? Look at Lego Town right now. Who wants an entire Lego Town nowadays that is literally nothing but fire stations and police stations? Because that's all they produce anymore. They don't make hardly anything. If they give you a gas station, it's like a car with a gas pump. There's no imaginative things like giving you a, like a post office like they used to do. They used to do motorcycle shops. They used to do grocery stores. They used to do just normal houses. They did hospitals. They did playgrounds. They did all different kinds of stuff back then. It's like they stopped even caring about the town stuff and they have to nurse on Disney and every little IP that comes that direction, and oh well, Nintendo and whoever else, video game wise, is going to give me something to do too. Cool. But what happens whenever those IPs die? The whole company goes under at that point. That or they had to come up with something new. Ninjago was a good thing that kept going for quite some time. They should have continued with it. Bionicle should have continued. Bionicle was phenomenal. It was a great toy. It was an awesome little thing for anybody to be able to pick up and build and make things. And it was an action figure. And it worked. But the problem is nobody's doing this now. Nobody is looking at the longevity of the entire toy line. There are too knee-jerk quicking, like, I don't know. They're too quick at reacting to something that they think is going to happen. And it never does. Like, as much as I love Transformers, he's into G1. He doesn't want Generation 2. He doesn't want any of the other stuff. He doesn't even want Missing Link. He finishes out his G1 collection and he's done collecting. Who's buying this stuff at that point? When you have a lot of collectors that are already walking away from the hobby because they've had their fill. Yeah, you have upcoming collectors, but most of them are doing it because their parents did. But not all of them are going to stick with it. I've seen a lot of kids, like throughout the years. I had a really good friend of mine that gave me an entire tub of Transformers. He's like, oh, these just sat in my closet. I don't play with them anymore. Guarantee you was over $1,000 in that tub made. You know, that was bought brand new, because I remember the prices on half the stuff. And I'm like, he didn't care. He's like, oh, I just kept just a couple I wanted to keep. You can have the rest. I don't want the rest of them. And we're talking about Gen Z. Not talking millennial. Because I'm going to say about around, somebody that's closer to, that's a millennial, close to their 40s. They're probably going to be okay about collecting the older stuff. But whenever you look at the ones that are like in their early 30s or late 20s, they don't care about this stuff. It's not useful to them. And I know this is a bit of a rant, but when you get to a certain point that you're creating things that nobody cares about, then what happens to that? Look at car culture. Car culture now is a bunch of clout chasers. Car culture is just people not doing doing stuff with cars like they used to. Oh, everything's content. Everything is content. Everything I buy has to be content. Every time I pick up a burrito from the freaking grocery store, I have to put this on TikTok. Get out of here with that crap. None of that's going to even matter here in 20 to 30 years. No one's going to care about any of that. These stupid little trends that people get on, that try to do these stupid TikTok challenges and garbage, get people thrown in jail. They get people banned from places. They sometimes end up in, people being harmed and sometimes death involved. That's the future, not the plastic toys. Oh, blame the video games. No. Don't blame the video games, and tell you why. Video games have absolutely nothing to do with that. You can look at the actual statistics in places that people thought it was like, oh, high crime rate. Well, most people go home to blow off steam playing a video game. They don't go home to, do other stuff. They do that to chill. Let them blow their steam off on video games. And the video game industry, complete crap. Complete crap right now. All they want you to do is buy a name, and they're going to give you limited access to it, and once it's gone, it's gone. That's why I've always said cartridge and disc is the best. Some people might disagree with that. Same thing with DVDs and VHSs. Same thing with cassette tapes, 8-tracks, CDs, and LPs. Owning your own stuff is best. I've always said this, and I've stick by it, and I always have. Same thing with these toys. Owning your toys is best. But don't go out there and start spending an astronomical amount of money on everything, because it's not worth it. You collect what you want to collect. You get into what you want to get into, and don't let other people influence you into buying the newest and latest, greatest thing and getting rid of the old one just because it's new. I'll be honest with you. Looking at all the different kinds of Seekers that's come out throughout the years, I have held every Seeker there is, except for the newest one, obviously. And I'll be honest with you, the classic mold to me was probably the best one, because it was solid, it didn't require a bunch of parts for me, it didn't have a bunch of parts pop off every time you changed anything on them, and they were relatively pretty nice toys. Yeah, they didn't have ankle tilts. That's about the only really big thing I would say that was even the only gripe with them. But the fact is, there's a reason why they were mass produced like they were. Because they were solid. They were good. The Earthrise one is okay. But this newest one, unless you have went out and bought like the newest and latest, greatest version, or if you're one of those ones that don't, haven't gotten on the Seeker train and now you want to, it's cool looking, but the aesthetic is very cartoony. So if you're looking for more of a toy aesthetic, it's not going to be for you. If you're into a cartoon aesthetic, you want something that's going to fit in with your masterpiece stuff, that's not going to fit in a masterpiece because it's too small. I call them mini masterpieces for a reason, because they literally are tinier masterpieces. Personally, like I said, I am one of the guys that goes out and buys like the tiny stuff, like the tiny ones. There's a reason for that, because I like scale. I like a Hot Wheel to look tiny, like Omega Supreme can literally step on it. There's a reason for that, because Omega Supreme turns into a rocket base. A base, a city in its own self. Why should this be as big as Optimus Prime? And that's probably my biggest gripe with a lot of things nowadays, is the fact that people want to complain about everything. I myself have seen scale be the easiest thing to remedy, considering they got rid of Core Class. I absolutely hate the fact they did that. Core Class was my bread and butter. I loved Core Class. And after they got rid of it, I was done. I mean, the last Core Class I purchased was the Core Class Galvatron, but I repainted it as, you guys probably saw a review of it if you haven't. I did make a Super Megatron out of it, because it looks like Super Megatron. It fits the bill 100% perfectly to me to be a Super Megatron. That little Energon Galvatron I'm talking about. It fits in with my aesthetic. I like tinier robots. I can collect more of them. They don't take up an entire house. And they look nice on a shelf. You can literally put them all together and create an entire Cybertronian city or whatever, and not have to worry about owning an extremely large bedroom to put them all, because your Fort Max and Grand Max and whatever Titans you have take up over half the shelves. My largest toys I have in here are pretty much like my GoBot headquarters vehicle. Like, those things are probably the biggest things I have, other than, well, my Transformer train set I have. I do have Castle Grayskull, but I consider it it's a shelf. I use it as a shelf. No, there's not a lot of heavy stuff on it. It's a lot of lighter, cool things. But the fact of the matter is, when it comes to collecting, look to the past and dig through that stuff. Some of that stuff was actually better. Built better, last more. The longevity is better. You don't have to worry about yellowing on half that stuff. Some of it that does yellow, it's because it's old. Like, if it's something from the 80s, yeah, it's going to yellow. It's 40 plus years old. If you're looking at, a newer toy that's been made like in the past 5 years and it's already yellowing, that should tell you something about the longevity of that toy. Like, one of the biggest problems I think a lot of people don't come to look at is the fact that you have like blast effects or rubberized parts. Do not leave those attached to any of your toys. They will melt and fuse to your guns or chest piece or whatever you decide to attach them to. They're there for a quick photo op, something like that. Toss them in a different container and put them away, so that way they don't fuse, because the chemical breakdown will cause that to happen. And that's one thing I've always wondered about some of the, even like the Prime Beast Hunters some of the dragons out of that line had some rubberized parts. I'm kind of wondering how those are faring nowadays. I had a few of those back when they were a thing, and I got rid of all that stuff years ago. But I kind of wonder how those fare nowadays. Like, are they sticky? Are they tacky? I don't know. I do know that if you leave any Generation 1 or Generation 2 Transformer that has rubber wheels, transforms sitting on the rubber wheels for a long period of time, the wheels will eventually go flat because they're sitting, the weight of the toy is literally weighing down on the rubber, and the rubber literally will flatten out after a while, and it'll create a flat spot. A lot of this deals with the environment. If your house is too cold, or it's too hot, too much humidity, not enough humidity. There's times you have to kind of play by ear to figure out whether it's going to ruin your toy collection or not. Same thing with comic books. Comic books can easily get damaged over time if they're not stored proper. You know, if you're not putting them in an area where they can't get, you know, slightly damp or anything. A lot of my comic books and such, they all stay in here with my toy collection because this is probably one of the best rooms for them. But yeah, I know this has been kind of a crazy and long video, a bit of a rant. Sorry if I stepped on some people's toes, but some people need to hear this. And the fact of the matter is, the world isn't ending. I'm not coming up to that conclusion. All I'm saying is, just be careful what you're doing with your money. Think about what you're doing. Think about what you're backing. If you have kids and you're trying to get your kids involved with some of this stuff, sometimes the best thing to do is get them involved with the older stuff so they can actually see value. Because when they go in the store and then they pop that $20, because usually it's like 20 plus now for anybody to get anything. It blew my mind the other day when I went in to Walmart and saw a boxed thing, not a big huge box, but plastic dinosaurs in a bubble box. $16? Are you kidding me? For plastic dinosaurs? Whatever happened to like the $2 to $3 bucket of dinosaurs you can get? Like, that's absolutely ridiculous. Like, if you guys really want to show the younger demographic of how greedy some of these companies are, you start pointing out that stuff and they'll stop and think, oh yeah, that is ridiculous. I'm just going to go to the thrift shop and drop $6 on a bag full of plastic dinosaurs. At least it's a fraction of the cost. It may be a little... Car got full. Sorry about that. Anyway. Well, all this being said, yeah, just teach your kids the value. Spread around the fact that things are way overpriced for what they are. I'm going to show you one of the coolest things I've got in my collection. And it was a Christmas present from last year. And this isn't really an expensive toy either. But I don't know if you guys have ever seen this thing. But this thing right here, this little, well, not so little robot, this guy was like $20. You're thinking, okay, it's just a dude, right? No. This in here I've actually kind of customized a little bit, but it's got storage for his missiles, because he has missile launchers. Trying to close it back up. Okay, alright. It also has lighting gimmicks. And guess what else he comes with? Come on down here with me on a little bit of a journey. You see these little dudes? These little guys? Comes with 10 of these little dudes. And they all have little weapons. And by the way, these are all interchangeable parts. You can change the heads out. The arms don't come off, but the heads, the legs are all removable. $20 toy, guys. $20. I found this at Walmart. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it. But the point I'm trying to get across here, it's one of those things. It's like I was saying. Is it really worth the money? I mean, really, is it? Is it worth that $20, $25 toy, right? That thing right there actually transforms. It turns into kind of a case that you can carry them. But you can fan mode the thing into several different things. You can turn him into a base. You can turn him into a starship. You can turn him into a four-legged walker thing. And it comes with a plethora of little guys that all pretty much look like little Gundam dudes or something, which is interesting. And they come with weapons. And it's all like 20 bucks at Walmart. If you guys want to know where this thing is at, it's usually where the Kids Connection toys are. 20 bucks. For something that doesn't have an IP attached to it, that's got similar styles. Yes, mine's customized, by the way. Yours may look a little different than this, because I found a guy online that actually made inlays for everything. But yeah, I'll get more into this toy here in the future, just to kind of really dig into it. But that's what I'm talking about. A toy that you can play with. A toy that is fun. By the way, it actually has very good firing missiles. They're not crappy firing. They actually fire very well. And it doesn't cost what a deluxe does now. Not even, like, a deluxe is what now, 27, almost 30 bucks? You guys remember when they were like 10 to 12? That wasn't really that long ago. Only a decade and this has happened? Like, it's been well over a decade. But still, a decade and a half away, and we're at a point now that a toy that is like Omega here would cost up to $300 to $400 to produce nowadays for Hasbro is absolutely atrocious. Whenever you have companies out there making transforming toys like this that have electronics, that have firing missiles, that comes with a plethora of little figures for a measly 20 bucks. Now yes, the plastic quality is a little squishier, but guess what? That squishier quality plastic is actually going to last longer than Omega here will, because if Omega fell on the ground, he would snap and break. That thing, it could hit the ground and won't hurt it. Which one would you rather give your kid? $300 toy? $20 toy. They learn how to play with a $20 toy and they could treat it like it's gold, then maybe they can move up to something that's a little more expensive. But the point I'm trying to get across here is, it's the same thing with Lego. It's the same thing with Hot Wheels. It's the same thing with, it doesn't matter, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. There's a reason why, okay, yeah. I know there's a lot of tangents in this video, but you know the reason why Playmates can still make cheaper toys, because they're the only company right now that's making cheaper toys other than crazy knockoffy things like that thing I showed you. It's because they own their own factories. Hasbro has to outsource everything. They don't own anything anymore. They even packed up and moved their entire headquarters from the place they've been at for 60 plus years just to appease a CEO, to make him happy for us to keep giving them money for every little crappy change they decide to do to a transformer. Because I tell you what right now, I really feel like every transformer that's produced now feels like an iPhone. They just give you that little bit of an upgrade, little bit of an upgrade, little bit of an upgrade, and that's all you're getting. Now this is nothing against the designers of the toys. I personally think the designers have a lot of heart and they want these toys to be produced and make them cool. The problem are the people throwing the money. Oh, this isn't going to work. We're going to pull the money. Oh, we can only produce so many of these. They ain't going to work. And with the recent HasLab, they announced the whole Tron thing. Save your $300 or however much that thing is at $200 and some odd dollars set. And take that money and go out and buy the vintage ones, because the vintage ones are a lot better. Yeah, they're only 5-point articulation, but who cares about articulation when you're just going to set it on a shelf like a statue? You're not going to play with it. It's going to sit there. Gather dust. I had a little bit of dust come off him. The point I'm trying to get across here is, if you're not actually going to play with the toy, then why dump that kind of money? A lot of us, when we get older, are going to have a lot of medical problems. Do you think this stuff's actually going to pay for your medical bills? Not really. This thing here, as great as this toy is, I love this thing. But if I was to resell it to somebody, especially like a local comic shop, I might be lucky if I get $75 for it. You sell it at a con, yeah, you'll get about 150 to 200 at a convention. But that's after you bought a table that's charged you anywhere between $900 to $1,200 to have a table just to sell your toys. So then after you've sold that and half a dozen other things you might have paid for the table, that's not counting your travel expenses, that's not counting the hotel fees of staying there, that's not counting how much money it costs for food. If all your cost is going into reselling your entire collection just to try to pay for bills, it doesn't work. The point I'm trying to get across here, guys, is you need to invest in yourselves. You need to help yourselves with a lot of the problems you have. It will help you along the way. Same thing with inspiring your kids to do the right thing. Get them off those stupid things that are not helping them. Teach them something that's useful in life, not things that aren't. And yeah, school sucks. School sucked for all of us. School doesn't really teach you much of anything. I remember when school actually taught you how to write a check. They don't even do any of that anymore because, you know, it's an obsolete thing, whatever. The point I'm trying to get across is they don't even teach them quality of life things. Where they're getting their quality of life things is from home. If you're a busy parent, I get it. But you still need to take time out to help your child. You need to take time out to do what you need to do to make sure your kid is actually learning something. Because they're not going to be learning much at these preschools and stuff. A lot of these parents and daycare centers are just there to watch the kid and then, you know, push them back off on you and you go do your own thing and not care. Because a lot of them are just there for a paycheck. It's sad for me to say that, but it's the truth. And whenever it comes to that whole situation, it's like that's a reason why a lot of us opt out to not have kids or have anybody involved or anything like that. As time progresses, a lot of us, as we get older, we know a lot of this stuff is not going to last. My eyesight's not lasting. My eyesight sucks. Right now, when I take these off, I can't read the numbers that are on my camera right now. What's that going to matter if it's a high definition crazy television set? What's it going to matter if the game is high def? It ain't. Most of us see it kind of grainy anyway. classes help only so much, right? Well, I have to look up like this to be able to actually read. I can kind of read it like this. So, I mean, if that tells you anything, what's that going to matter if the print on this is not the best? I mean, this is a cheap little thing that was thrown in with batteries back in the day, and it's probably got better sculpting than half the toys they even make nowadays. And this was made back in, let's see if we can get the light on it just right, 2011. So, that tells you anything. But anyway, I know this is kind of a long video. You guys stuck with it to the end. Awesome. Appreciate it. I know it hadn't been a very fun one, but hey, I'm trying my best to hold my tongue, but lately I just can't. I'm kind of done with the industry and the way things have gone. And I think somebody needs to say it, and I'm going to be the one that does it. Because I've had a huge love for toys my entire life. What I don't love is the fact that they're overpricing things. They're pricing collectors out already. They're pricing it to the point that a child can't even play with a toy. And it's absolutely ridiculous. Go out and buy your crazy knockoffs. Stop being a bunch of IP monkeys. Who cares about an IP? It ain't gonna matter anyway in the end. There's a lot of really cool toys out there that don't even have an IP attached to them, and they're amazing. Like my little plastic spaceman. There's no IP attached to this. Looks like some stuff from Buck Rogers. No IP. You don't need an IP. Buy a Hot Wheel. Paint that thing. Make it look like freaking Kit. You know? That's what I did. I took a old Hot Wheel. Yeah. Go out to your thrift stores. Go to some of your local comic shops. Dig through those bins. Found an old Hot Wheel. Made my own kit. And what's funny is later on I found another kit, and guess what? His doors don't open, but this one's does. Because I made it. Create your own world. If you create your own world and show your kids that you can create your own world, it will inspire them to do the same. Because that's what survival is all about. That's what being a human's all about. Is getting through it. Life is a survival race. And we're all just trying to get there in the end. But, yeah. Toys are fun. I love toys. Sitting in this room makes me smile. Looking at all my combiners. Makes me smile. Look at my funny Slimer I have up here. Like, I know it's kind of crazy. But, unscrew this thing. Give you guys a little bit of a tiny little sneak peek. See? Popcorn container. I filled him up full of just little plastic dinosaurs and toys I had laying around. I think it's funny. It's like he ate my toys. Because I have tons of toys, obviously. I'm a collector. Not just some dude blowing a bunch of BS. I've had toys for a long time. Long time. I need to get around and actually talk about these things sometime. Because, you know, micro machines are cool. But, like I said, the point is, don't let everybody out there influence you into stuff that you don't want to get into. And teach your kids what actual value of things are. Don't go out there being an IP monkey, buying it just because, you know, it's good for whoever. No one is good for the CEO. It's not even good for the designers anymore. Designers don't even get half the credit they should. And they're the ones actually doing the work. That CEO, all he's doing is fronting some money from a bunch of people that are backing it. And, you know, you guys want to talk about the HasLab stuff. Well, the HasLab stuff is an absolute joke. I haven't backed one of them, and I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't back any of them. Especially after that last raid with the Omega Prime. That kind of burnt me a little bit. Because I'm almost kind of guys, I don't like being burned on things. I think it's BS. You get X amount of money for something, and all you get is a bunch of crappy customer service, halfway fixes, and no one caring. And in the end, you're out money. Not to mention time and stress. Because I know a lot of this stuff is there to help you guys with anxiety, help you guys through your stressful day, help you through your life. About the only thing you have really to look forward to sometimes. And when someone treats that like it's absolute crap, that's whenever it really, really hurts. And it's not right. I don't like seeing the community turning into what it has. It's ridiculous. I don't like the idea that everybody's like, oh, well, this, that, and the other. You guys need to stop nursing on some of this stuff and start actually expanding. There's tons of different kind of toy lines out there you guys can get into. There's tons of different companies out there that are doing it better than mainline stuff and doing it cheaper. Sometimes it might not be the most cheap thing, but guess what? There's some stuff out there that is phenomenal that's cheap. You don't have to always pay out hundreds and thousands of dollars for something and then think it's going to resell. Like, I've seen so many toys plummet in the past few years that had just tanked in price. Everybody thinks, oh, I got a G1 Optimus Prime that's mint in box. Well, you know, how many knockoffs of that G1 Optimus Prime are there out there? That's the question. And how many people out there buying the knockoff versus the original? Because they're not going to pay $300 for an original. They're going to pay $89.99 off of AliExpress or wherever on eBay for a knockoff, because they don't care. They just want the toy. They don't care if it's the best quality. That's the point. The point is, honestly, people don't care. They just want a representation of that. So what's the point in spending so much money? Like, look at the let's take, for instance, you look at the Missing Link Optimus that come out, right? Not very long there was a knockoff of it put out. Where's people out there going to buy the knockoff? You know why they're going to buy the knockoff? Because the other one's too expensive. It's the same thing with Diaclone, by the way. Diaclone version 2 has some amazing stuff. But there's knockoff companies out there doing the same thing. They're literally producing the same toy. Cheaper? You know why it's cheaper? They don't have all this overhead. Yeah, it's a stolen item at this point. But I'll be honest with you. Knockoff GoBots. Often do we see knockoff Transformers. Often do we see knockoff G.I. Joe. Knockoff everything. There was knockoff everything when we were kids. What's the difference now? Oh, the quality's not the best. Dude, the quality wasn't the best even back then. Like, the quality's never been great on everything. You guys think, oh, if I buy something, it's going to last 30 some odd years and maybe my kid's going to retire on it or whatever. But get out of here with that thinking. You can't even invest in, like, stocks nowadays and expect it to actually last. People nowadays are inventing, putting money into whatever Bitcoin is and all that garbage. I don't even know what Bitcoin is, and I don't really care to, because there's just so much bloat to everything. Everything's become bloat, and it's bad. It's not good for anybody. And if nobody's actually out there creating and producing and making new things, then the old stuff will become stale and no one's going to care. And that's where we're at right now. People don't care about a lot of this older stuff. Like I was saying last night on the cast, and I know probably some people probably tuned out after that, but I mentioned that Hasbro has a lot of characters out there they haven't touched yet for G1, but they've almost done all of them. Well, what do? They keep recycling the same crap. Stop backing it. Stop even caring about it, because it's just not worth the headache. It's not worth the money to put into another HasLab are now this made-to-order crap where they're taking a HasLab his tank and just recoloring it, gutting it of electronics, making it slightly cheaper, and I guarantee you it's going to cost probably almost as much as the first one did when it came out. But it's not fan-backed. Yes, it is. It is fan-backed still because they're taking the same mold that they literally just sold you guys and recoloring it and throwing it back at you again. Like, G.I. Joe's fine. I understand that for G.I. Joe. What happens if they decide to do that with the Omega Prime? What if they decide to do that with the Unicron? A lot of you guys out there were like, oh, the Unicron's the best. And then they decide to do the Cybertronian one where it's all black. Or, God forbid, they ever do that weird green, obscure colored one. They do like a limited run. Ooh. It really doesn't matter. Does it really matter? I mean, a lot of us out there can do the same thing with a spray paint can and make our own. You know, seriously. It's not that hard. It's just one of those things out there that a lot of people really need to start realizing of how much things really are a ripoff nowadays. Stop backing these huge corporations. Stop putting all your money and time into things that don't really even matter. And just enjoy things. If you find something you like, then like it. But don't buy it just because someone else thinks it's a good idea. Don't just buy it because, oh, it's the newest thing since sliced bread. No, it's not the newest thing since sliced bread. And yes, I know a lot of my videos have been longer too lately. But there's a reason for it, because I don't really have a lot of energy to be putting out videos like I was. It's too much for me sometimes. I'm tired. Been so busy this month that I can't even think straight half the time. It's pretty bad. But anyway, this has been Plasticon. This has been yet another vlog. I'll catch you guys around. That's it for now. Bye.